Right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Tawana Rivers. I am the CEO of the 10K Project, and tonight is a special night, y'all. We are so excited. We have the Dream Exchange here to talk to us about the amazing work that they've been building and doing and building over the last few years. The first minority-owned stock exchange. I'm gonna let them tell you all about it, but I want you to sit right there for a minute, right? You heard me right. The first minority-owned stock exchange, and you're getting ready to hear about it. You're getting ready to hear how you can be a part of history in the making. And so I'm so excited about tonight's session. Thank you all for joining us. For those of you who are going to watch the replay, thank you again for spending time with us. I'm going to introduce to you Dwayne and Jeff. I'm going to let them talk a little bit about their background. Brothers, thank you so much for joining us here at the 10K Project. I am so excited. I went back through my email when Chad and Tori reached out. I went back in my email and I was like, Dream Exchange. We've been following Dream Exchange. Every time there's an article in the press, we've been posting it in our Facebook group. And I was like, I feel like I've talked to them before. I went back in my email, and sure enough, I talked to Joe like back in 2021. I had an email. And so I'm so excited that you are at this place, right? So far along in this journey, almost to the finish line. And so tell us, first of all, about you. Dwayne, I'll let you go first, introduce yourself to us, but we want to hear how you all got here. We want to see what the future is going to be, and obviously how all of us can play a part in it.
Thank you so much, Tawana. I'm glad we had a chance to chat a little bit before we got started. And I want to say what I said to you personally to the group. The people who founded this organization are superstars in my book. As a person who has devoted his life to trying to help people live their best lives, particularly those in our community, having grown up the son of a Baptist preacher and a mother who dedicated their lives, their entire lives to the community. The example was set for me. And I can tell you, when I got to be an adult and I started looking for kindred spirits, they were few and far between. So to be able to come before a group of people who have not only talked about what could be done and thought about what could be done, you have done this. You have done the doggone thing. And I'm telling you, if you look at a pyramid, at the top of the pyramid, you guys, when you think about all the people in our community and where they are with regard to understanding the importance of investing and how that relates to job creation and how that relates to uplifting our own community. There are people that are on every rung of that, or every stage of that pyramid, and you guys are at the pinnacle. Because I'm telling you, we talked to people for 20 years. We've been trying to do this. And the people that we have tried to encounter to get to support, we've met, we have a wonderful community of investors, but for every 10 people we talk to, there may be one that really gets and really is prepared to get up, put their money where their mouth is. So I really want to commend you that this is believe me when I tell you, if there's anybody in the whole world who appreciates your journey and how important this is to the community, it is us. Because we can't do what we need to do if you guys don't do what you're doing. All right? All right, let me start there. So, as I said, I grew up, small little colored child in Memphis, Tennessee. I was born in Chicago. My dad reverse commuted to Tennessee to start a small church. Pastored there for 55 years. I went to public high school there, ended up going to college back up near Chicago to Lake Forest, and then to law school out in DC at Georgetown, and while at Georgetown, worked on Capitol Hill and really began to understand how the power center of the country related to people's everyday lives. I got to see it firsthand and really get that interaction. And from there, I went back to Chicago and was fortunate enough to work for the first African-American owned company to be registered on a stock exchange, Johnson Products Company. I didn't have any real appreciation. I'm gonna tell you, I was a lawyer, Georgetown grad. I had this much appreciation for how significant that was in the scheme of things. So when I tell you that our community does not really understand, in large part, what the opportunity is that is being presented to us, I know what I'm talking about because I didn't get it, okay? And I had all this education, all this exposure, working in the company. And I thought it was a wonderful thing. I saw firsthand what it meant to have a company in the community, in Chatham, in Chicago, and the jobs that were created and the quality of life. And I'm telling you, when they left, it has been on decline ever since. So these lessons have been pivotal to my life. And I was fortunate. That's a little bit about me. My partner, who let me apologize, Joe would have been here, but Joe has been under the weather. And so I'm trying to stand in for him, which is a hard job because Joe is not only a lawyer, but a CPA and has done hundreds of deals, venture capital, private capital. I mean, he has been in the trenches doing the work. And frankly, it was as a result of work we tried to do together and the failure of our ability to bring capital resources to small minority-owned companies in the community. That failure grew the seeds to the Dream Exchange and the Venture Exchange, which we'll talk about sooner, because we simply could not, Joe could not believe that the kind of money he would raise for businesses in his community, as we became close and he saw what I was trying to do and he wanted to help me help them, and it wasn't happening, that he couldn't believe. He was like, wait a minute, what is this about? So it was in that failure that the seeds to what is going to be a revolutionary, and I know you guys are revolutionaries, our revolution, our part of the revolution really took place. So Joe, like I said, was not only a CPA, but a lawyer. His real claim to fame, and this is important because it really speaks to why it is that we believe that we could do what we're doing. The New York Stock Exchange is actually called NYSE Arca, and that Arca stands for Archipelago. Joe was one of the 4 people who founded the company Archipelago, which at the very earliest stages of going from an auction style stock market to what is currently in place, which is high-speed electronic high-frequency trading. He helped to usher in that transition. So while he was doing that and I was trying to do, help my people the best I could, we were able to come together. And for 20 years, we have been literally joined at the hip because we have helped each other in ways that I won't even get into on this call. But we have really been able to become family and to work on this thing in such a way that it has become, we have been very fortunate. Not only do we have great investors, but we've got a team of about 40 people now who really are family. I mean, and I know that's why I know we're so much aligned, because the same kind of family engagement and feeling that you guys have developed for the 10K project, we have been able to develop with the Dream Exchange. And I think it is going to give us the intestinal and other fortitude to make sure that we can do whatever we need to do to make sure that this thing is successful. And especially as we build this ecosystem with organizations like the 10K Project, there's no stopping us. There is no stopping us. And with that, I will let Jeffrey come in here and do the do, because he's going to tell you all the real deal. And let me say this, one more thing. This information, I hope everybody gets it and you guys play it and send it out, because this is an education that very, 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 very few people get. We know all about the stock market, but very few people really understand what a stock exchange, how it makes money, how it works, where it fits in the scheme of things. That is not something that, that is not common knowledge. So I want you to understand that the information you're about to get is really very important. And there's no better person to give that to you at this moment than Brother Jeffrey Farrell. Take it away, Jeff.
Thank you, Dwayne. Thank you. You know, I feel about Dwayne and what we're doing, and Joe. Um, I think it's going to be paramount to building upon the civil rights movement of the 60s. It's the last shoe to drop. The opportunity for economic and prosperity in our community cannot be understated. And I am so elated to have Dwayne be a part of this and be part of the driving force behind this. You know, it's amazing. And you know, as Dwayne alluded to, the work that Joe has done with Archipelago just highlights his aptitude and ability to understand the ramifications of this challenge that we're facing and how we can really solve it. And so when I first learned the Dream Exchange, by the way, just a little bit about me, I had been in financial services for nearly 2 decades, doing client-facing retirement plans, helping people figure out insurance, send their kids to college, and really create wealth for themselves and for the next generation. And one of my really close friends and colleagues called me up, and Tawana, you know it's going to be an interesting conversation when he starts it off by saying, "Are you sitting down?" So I said, "Yeah, I'm sitting down, man. What's up?" He says, "Imagine a minority-owned and governed stock exchange." And I fell out the chair. I picked up my phone and I said, "Hey, man, I think I got to get my ears clean, because it sounded like you said it's going to be a minority-owned and governed stock exchange." He said, "Yeah, that's what I said." I was like, wow. And so, to Dwayne's point, a lot of what we're going to share with you is not common knowledge. In fact, after 20 years of being in the financial services industry, I didn't have any understanding of the public capital markets or how money moved around in there, and just really how it works. So with that, I hope to provide some value in explaining that. So if I can move to the next slide here. What you see on the screen is really how capital moves through the US equities markets. And we're not talking about just a few dollars. There's $37 trillion that moves in and around that marketplace. And the lion's share of that is handled at that top line by what we call institutional investors or asset allocators. The pension funds, the 401k funds, the retirement, the IRA funds that you hear about all the time in Chicago. We have the Chicago Transit and the overwhelming workers on a weekly basis, however they're paid, to a pension fund, to a retirement fund, a 401k of some sorts, okay? And those asset allocators at that top bar are trying to figure out how to invest those dollars and grow those dollars, those investment dollars, for those people's retirement. Now, they don't invest directly in the market themselves. They are approached by that second row of logos, the broker-dealer community. I'm sure all of those names are very familiar to our audience, but those broker-dealers approach those asset allocators with the ideas of giving them strategies of how they can invest those funds. Now, because those asset allocators, and again, an overwhelming amount of their money is coming from frontline, in the trenches workers that look like you and I, diversity goals and diversity spending is on their radar. In fact, many of them by policy or by law have to meet diversity goals, okay? And those diversity goals are centered around making sure that every opportunity that they have to do business with a diverse or minority owned or led company, they need to do that. So when those broker dealers approach them, they have that in mind as well. Those broker dealers have to help those asset allocators meet their diversity goal. That's the understanding. If you're going to get to manage, if Morgan Stanley is going to get to manage $10 billion from CalPERS, they understand they have to reach diversity goals. Now, just to be clear, on Wall Street has one favorite color. It's green. They want to make money, and that's primary. We present for them a very unique opportunity because our exchange has been built with technology at the center of it. And so as we have developed this exchange, we've put the best of technology at the center of what we're doing. So we're very efficient. We have the best technology that's available. That makes us more efficient and more cost effective, which helps that broker-dealer community to make more green, which is what they want to do. By comparison, the New York Stock Exchange happens to be one of the oldest, if not the oldest, exchange around. They're built on a very old chassis and system, and their pricing sheet is kind of complex. In fact, it's 35 pages thick. So that makes it very difficult for that broker-dealer community to predict what their costs are going to be when it comes to their order flow. So again, remember, I'm telling you, at the end of the day, the main color for them is green. So they want to make money and they want to make it fast and efficiently. We present them a very unique opportunity to be able to do that at a cost-effective way. Be very straightforward. In fact, we want to exchange. We think we automatically will also attract those who are selling, okay? And at the end of the day, that's the primary goal. They're going to make money. The cherry on top for them is they'll actually be doing business by sending orders to our exchange. They'll be able to check the box that, hey, we're doing business reason. That gives us an opportunity to get our in the door. That's all we're trying to do here is get our foot $1 million that's swimming around out there, okay? This is what the current market size looks like, and these numbers are from 2022. As you can see, in 2022, nearly 3 trillion shares changed hands in the marketplace. And just to give you some understanding, every time a share is bought and sold on an exchange, those exchanges make a fraction of a penny on each one of those transactions. So you can see having that volume of transactions can build up to a pretty big number. In fact, the revenue in that year was over $3 billion in revenue. The overwhelming majority of those shares traded on 3 families of exchanges. There are a total of 7 families of exchanges that exist today. We're going to be the 8th. Those 3 that dominate the market are NASDAQ, New York Stock Exchange, and Cboe. They've been on the block the longest. They have a big foothold. We expect that we can grab some of that market share by, again, presenting a more favorable and more efficient way for those broker-dealers to execute their trades on our exchange, and they get the added bonus of doing business on a diverse exchange. So we think for those reasons, we'll capture some of this market. Here's where we are in our development. By the way, when I first heard of Dream Exchange, none of these milestones had been achieved yet. So I'm so excited that we are where we are here in July 2024. We are on the cusp of having that national market system exchange operational. We're going to be filing our Form 1 application very shortly. The filing of that form is imminent. And once that happens, there is a certain number of days of public comment that application will sit in the Federal Registry. And then at the end of that, we will be issued a provisional license. Now, we're very confident in this process because we actually front of getting that. We've been in community SEC for our ducks in a row and our T's crossing of get change operational. And so with you, did I get lost?
Well,
Yeah, Jeff,
we
I
lost.
sent you. Yeah, it's cutting out a bit. So I don't
Okay.
know.
All
You want
right.
to try again here?
Let me try to reshare my screen here. Okay. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I don't know if it's my signal, because I'm actually at church, so I'm on my church's Wi-Fi. Hopefully it'll sustain us. But what I wanted to say is with all of what I share with you, we're going to make money as an exchange. Our investors are going to be incredibly excited. You know, I'll have a good job. That'll mean nothing though to really solving the problem that Dwayne was highlighting earlier in the conversation. The problem we want to solve is access to capital, particularly for small and mid-cap size companies. And that's a universal problem. That is a problem for everybody. However, my mom's from Clarksdale, Mississippi. And so she would say something like this. She would say, baby, when white folk have a cold, black folk got the flu. So anything that affects everybody has a double impact on the minority community. So we want to focus on the people who are on the fringes because we know if we can help them, everybody gets help. And a rising tide lifts all boats. So that's what we're interested in, helping everybody. We're going to be we're minority owned government exchange, but we're going to help everybody. Here's the on national market system exchanges presently. Of those 6,000 companies, less than 10 of them would be considered minority business enterprises. Okay, that's the horrible news. But there's good news. The good news is we plan on doing IPOs. We're going to conduct IPOs. And in fact, we're already aware of a number of minority-led companies that are very strong, solid companies that just the other exchanges have not shown any interest in listing. We're going to be able to double the number of minority listed companies within our first year or so. Now, that's the good news. The bad news is that's still just a drop in the ocean. So we have a lot of work to do there. And we're really glad to be part or connecting with 10K because you guys can help us in bolstering that number. We need lots more minority business enterprises that are listed on a national market system exchange. But here's what's important. That bullet point at the bottom. This is actually not even our research. This came from the US Treasury Department, which they noted that there was a huge drop-off in the number of small IPOs that were being conducted on an annual basis. We went from hundreds of them to almost none. So they wanted to understand what was going on. So they put together a task force on IPOs. Here's what they found. 92% of jobs within a company are created after an IPO is conducted. So here's why that matters. If we had more minority-owned companies, like the company that Dwayne worked for, Johnson Products, that was on the south side of Chicago, if we had more minority-owned companies that are headquartered in the minority community conducting IPOs, they're going to hire 92% more people. And those aren't minimum wage jobs, guys. Those are actually career path jobs that have benefits attached to them, 401ks attached to them, healthcare attached to them. So you want to talk about ushering in prosperity to our communities? It's by building public companies in our communities. We need to get them access to this capital because that slide that I showed you previously, that $37 trillion that's out there, it never makes its way back to our community because we don't have minority-owned companies that are listed on the exchanges that are headquartered in the minority community. So that's part of the problem we want to address. We want to recreate that market of small IPOs, but the national. Go ahead.
I really hate to interrupt you, but I really want to dig in on that point.
Yeah.
Because it took me years to really understand that relationship. Stock exchanges by law can only invest in companies or their other stocks that are owned by publicly held companies. In other words, there has to be an initial public offering, IPO, that results in a publicly listed company, okay, that's regulated by the SEC. Without that, all of that $37 trillion is unavailable to us. We cannot use that money because the regulations that govern IPOs and companies that have done an IPO or that are publicly listed, 10K form and all the things that you hear about, those are put in place to protect the investor so that you can get access to public information about how they're doing, what they're doing, how much money they're actually making, independent auditors. That system is designed to protect the investor, but also the companies themselves. So there's a direct correlation between being able to invest in a publicly held company and not being able to invest in a publicly held, or being able to invest or not being able to invest in those companies. If you're not listed, you can't get access to that $37 trillion of capital. That's a really important point. So I want to make sure that people understand that, because I used to wonder for a long time why the companies I was trying to work with couldn't have, the union invest in them directly, or the pension funds invest in them directly, because they are all bound to invest in publicly held companies. They have small programs where they'll do some other stuff, but for the most part, they are forbidden from investing in our companies in our community that are not listed publicly.
Yeah, thank you for
Sorry.
that. And that's $37 trillion out there that never makes its way to our communities. Though we are participating in the investor side of things, it just doesn't make its way back. So we want to create, we need to create a platform where that becomes possible. That's really the overarching vision and where we're heading as a company. That is the purpose of Dream Exchange, is to create that access and democratize access to that capital. So I'm just elated at where we are in this process. I want to point out to you what the numbers look like so you can really understand where we are and how we're going to get there. So this data is actually our research. Joe, our CEO, actually conducted some significant research into this issue, because we want to be able to back up what we're saying with actual numbers that is based in reality. So this data actually goes back for decades and decades. The light blue bar represents small IPOs on an annual basis. The dark blue are large IPOs, and small being defined as under 50 million. So as you can see, from the late 80s throughout the 90s, there were hundreds and hundreds of IPOs that were conducted, and the overwhelming majority of them were relatively small IPOs. I'll even give you an example. Let's go back to the mid 80s. There was a company called Microsoft. You remember Microsoft, right? Microsoft went public. They IPO'd, I think the share price was about $21 a share, and they sold 2.5 million shares in one day. They raised about $60 million. Okay. Fast forward to 2012 when Facebook went public. They sold 421 million shares in one day. They raised some $16 billion in one day. It's not comparable. So when you see that drop off that happens from 2000 to 2001, where the small IPO market crashes and it never recovered, you got to ask yourself, well, what caused that? Why did that happen? Well, it was the advent of electronic trading. The company that Joe helped to found, Archipelago, ushered in a new system of stock transactions executing instantaneously. They essentially put computer terminals in all the broker-dealer offices across the country. So now you had stock transactions that were happening at the blink, less than a blink of an eye. And so it became a volume-based business, right? Because it's not comparable. 2.5 million shares versus 421 million. It's just not even a comparison. You could have 10 Microsoft IPOs and it still wouldn't equal what that large IPO was with Facebook. So that's where the market has gone. It's become less about early stage entrepreneurs getting patient capital invested in them so that they can grow and scale. Now it's become a place for the exit of the early stage investors, right? And it's these large behemoth private companies that go public, and then those early stage investors, they harvest the wealth because they got in very early. So we need to recreate a marketplace where the small IPO can not just survive, but thrive. So that is what we're looking to do. The red line in this bar graph also is very important to understand. That is the unemployment rate. Note that from 1992 to 2000, that red line is on a downward trajectory. But immediately in 2001, it starts to trek up. Why? When you have record number of IPOs, you also have record hiring, which drives unemployment down. Well, flip the record over and play the other side. As soon as that market crashed, immediately unemployment starts to trek up. Why? Because you don't have hiring happening like it was when you had IPOs happening. So we want to recreate this market by creating a new type of exchange that I'm excited to tell you about. We're going to close that. There's basically a gap that exists from what the average IPO was 20 years ago, 60 million, and it's $180 million today. So that creates a gap. We want to close the gap by building a bridge. That bridge starts with the creation of that national market system exchange that we're probably just a couple of months away from that being operational. We expect that by the fall of this year, that exchange will be operational and we will be producing revenue. So we're very excited about that. Shortly after we have that operation, we're going to extend that license to also include IPOs. As I mentioned before, we want to double the number of minority listed companies on a national market system exchange. Phase 1, 2, and 3 are happening simultaneously, and phase 1 is just about complete. Phase 3 is where the excitement is for us, and that is the creation of a new type of stock exchange called a venture stock exchange. Now, venture stock exchange has nothing to do with venture capital, so don't let that confuse you. But it's going to be an environment that's specifically tailored to the small and mid-cap size companies. There's going to be different listing rules that will be more conducive or more amicable to a small company. It will not be as heavy of a lift to be able to list on this venture stock exchange. The tick sizes will be larger so that the fluctuation in pricing will not be as dramatic or as it's going to be a bigger leap from one price to the other on this exchange. And in order for us to do that, we've got to get a piece of legislation across the finish line. That's why it's so important to have relationships with organizations like 10K, because we need more people standing with us to help us get this legislation pushed over the finish line. The Main Street Growth Act had bipartisan unanimous support back in 2018 and was actually on the then president's desk. And unfortunately, it died because you remember at the end of 2018, we had a government shutdown. Well, we begin that process again, but this time more intelligently. We've hired a top lobbying firm in Washington, one of the best firms in Washington, Brownstein, Hyatt, Faber, and Schreck. And basically our CEO since October of last year has been crisscrossing back and forth to Washington, along with Dwayne in many instances, to meet with congressional leaders. We've got the congressional caucuses on board. The Black Caucus, the Congressional Latino Caucus, the Congressional Asian Caucus are in support of this legislation. Our head of government relations, Marty Russo, who's a former legislator from Illinois, had dinner with Sherrod Brown, who's the chairman of the Banking Committee in the House. And that meeting was a strategy meeting to determine how do we get this legislation moving. That led to a meeting with Raphael Warnock. I'm told that after that meeting, Dwayne, that he hugged you and promised to give this bill his priority, which we really didn't even ask for, he offered. And then from there.
Yeah, excuse me. Since you called my name, you know I'm going to say something. Let me double down just a little bit on that. Sherrod Brown is chairman of the Banking Committee on the Senate side. Interestingly, and this is why you have to really pay attention. This legislation has been primarily promoted by Republicans. Okay, because Republicans are pretty much going to support anything that they think benefits Wall Street. Period. They don't ask a lot of questions in this vote. On the other side, and this is part of what I see as our challenge as people who are trying to expand the horizons of our leadership at the same time they're creating new opportunities for our community. The Democrats typically have just kind of almost had knee-jerk reactions to anything that is supposedly good for Wall Street. And like it or not, we will be part of Wall Street. And so to the extent that this legislation benefits the Dream Exchange the Venture Exchange, and that Venture Exchange will be open to anybody. Anybody can start a Venture Exchange. But what this legislation does is it provides small and mid-cap companies with a more hospitable environment in which they can be traded. Because in the world of high frequency traded, if you're a small company, you will just get pushed around by all the big guys, basically. I mean, the stuff is happening so fast, and things that have nothing to do with you can really end up being the death of you. So the Venture Exchange, because Joe really, really understood this market because he'd been working with it for so long, he also, and our academic partners at the University of Wisconsin, I mean, we did a lot of work to make sure that we could come up with legislation that would be optimal for small companies. This is particularly beneficial and important for companies for an organization like 10K, because many of the companies that you guys are investing in, when they need that ramp, the bridge that Jeff is talking about, they will be able to tap into the to the Venture Exchange. And I think we can go up to about 100 million, Jeff, on the Venture Exchange, and then you graduate to the Dream Exchange. Right. So we are creating that ecosystem, that ramp, if you will, from startups to the biggest deals that can be done. I mean, we have taken all of that into account. We have been very thoughtful about this. This has been going on for at least 17 years. This is not some stuff we just came up with overnight and thought this was going to be a good idea. People have worked very hard to put all these things in place. And we are excited about the prospect of getting people who understand that hard work, understand what is going to be required to get our people engaged and understanding this part of the process and attracting them to it. Because the companies you guys are investing in provide an extraordinary pipeline for the Venture Exchange. And I don't want to steer you, Jeff, so I don't want to get ahead of it.
So very important for us is to have as many people possible standing with us on the importance of this legislation and getting this across the finish line. We don't want to wait. We need to get this done now. But from our perspective, we're not quitting. I mean, whatever happens, we're going to keep forging ahead, and this will get done one way or the other. It's just a matter of time for us. Phase 4 is really, I cannot overstate the importance of the financial education piece. As we know, in our community, financial literacy is a problem universally. And then again, it just doubly is impacted in the minority community. And so we want to, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We want to find organizations that are doing a good job of providing education or have distribution systems in place already to disseminate the education. We want to undergird that and support that so that people become educated about the public capital markets. Because here's the idea. We want the next generation of entrepreneurs to be educated on everything from how do you properly value your business idea? How do you get that business idea off the ground by raising patient capital so that you can launch that business? How do you intelligently deploy that capital? And everything in between there. Because here's the concept, and I know you've heard this. It's better, you've heard it said that it's better to teach a person how to fish than to give them a fish. Well, we want to take that a step further. We want to help people build fish factories. Because if you build a fish factory, not only do you eat, you can help the entire community to eat. It's It's now time for us as a people to not just have these individual 1 and 2 people who become successful and do well. We need our communities to do well. We need our communities to be thriving places where people want to live and where there's prosperity to share all over. So that's what we're after, and that's what we're going to accomplish. Here is the rest of our key team members. Jim Young is our Chief Legal and Regulatory Officer. Jim Young is actually the former Chief Compliance Officer and General Counsel to the National Stock Exchange. So Jim has had extensive experience and interactions with the Securities Exchange Commission. In fact, he has been invaluable in our process of us getting our application completed and getting it ready to be submitted. And Jim Young is also on our board of directors. Don Bowen is on our board of directors as an observer. He is actually the former chief program officer for the National Urban League. And that's an invaluable relationship because we want to, again, align ourselves with legacy organizations in the community that have already established themselves over the past 100 years that we can just easily plug into and provide these services and support so that it reaches the people that it needs to reach. Jane Hayden is our Chief Public Officer. I'll say more about her and Vanessa on the next slide. Todd Kenny is our Chief Operating Officer. He's the former Chief of Operations for the Intercontinental Exchange Group, which also included oversight of NICE ARCA's operations. Ray Edwards is our Senior Vice President of Technology. Ray was part of the team that built the NASDAQ back in the 70s. He was also part of the team that helped invent the internet. So Ray's been around technology for quite a while. He's done some great work. Tellus Williams is our Chief Information Security Officer. He's the former CISO at AXA Insurance, and he was nominated last year for CISO of the Year. Jagar Vyas is our Senior Vice President of Marketing and Registration. Jagar would have been our customer in his former roles. He was part of the broker-dealer community, and he would literally be in the room when the broker-dealers and those asset allocators were having those conversations about diversity. Jagar was there. Rob Ford is our Vice President of Security. Rob is a former supervisory special agent for the FBI. He's also a military officer and a graduate of the Naval Academy. So we've got a tremendous team of professionals with tremendous experience and expertise in their area. Discipline. So we really have assembled that are helping fights to you guys been? Well, because we've essentially had to operate on a very tight shoestring budget and us in raising capital, we're not yet producing revenue. We've had to really be
Jeff, if you can hear us, you froze.
Yeah.
Let's give him a minute. I want to say, while we're waiting for Jeff to come back, the Dream Exchange got the dream team going on here, okay? Man,
It's
the
been a,
experience on this team is bananas.
we have been very careful and very intentional about the and the real beauty, Tawana, is that these are people who care about our mission. It's not enough, they were all making good livings. I mean, but they believe in what we believe in, which is making the resources available for people who are hardworking and have every right to this capital, but who have been excluded systematically for generations. We cannot continue to survive or certainly thrive as a nation with this kind of continuing disparity. So this is really, people are dedicated to the idea. I mean, really dedicated, and they're putting their money where their mouth is. because we can't pay them what these other folks are paying them yet. But they're also understanding that we represent the vast bulk of the marketplace.
Mhm.
You know, everybody ain't got all the big money up there. So most people don't. So when you start talking about the tens of thousands of small and mid-cap businesses that will be eligible to come into the venture exchange and move up through, we'll make less money on our deals in some respects, but then we will make it up on the volume because we will expand this economy, no doubt. Jeff, you with us?
I am.
Okay, all right. We lost you there for a minute.
Yeah, I apologize. The Wi-Fi at the church isn't as strong as I thought it was.
All right, no apologies necessary. You here, we here, it's all good.
Yeah, I put a link to we have an anthem. It's very early on in our development. Dwayne saw the vision of a need to communicate a message of hope to our community. And you know, we do music in the Black community. And so we were able to tap Mike Phillips, who's an award-winning songwriter and saxophonist. And he wrote a doozy of a song for us called Dream Again. I put it in the chat. I don't know if you can share that link with your audience, but I would encourage people to go check that song out. It's a bomb. You'll love it. You'll love it.
We're very, very proud of it. Very.
Yeah.
Idea is that if, you know, for people that have never heard or thought about the stock market, care about it, this is a way, as I see it, you know, especially when people listen to the lyrics, of really connecting with those people and getting their attention so that they would ask somebody, did you hear that song? What they talking about? You know, and if we can get that engagement at the most basic levels of the community, then we will have done our job, because it's got to start. I mean, we want this to be, you know, the Dream Exchange to be on everybody's lip like Google. I mean, we want to be the Google of all things finance, and the ecosystem that we create is the place where people come to get the kind of information that they need, whatever they're, you know, because people learn at different levels and speeds. Everybody's different, but we want to plant as broad, you know, a swath as we can or net, I should say. We're going to cast as broad a net as we can to catch as many people as we can that really want to put the time in and put the work in and make something of themselves and create wealth for their families.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. That is wonderful. Jeff, what else you got for us?
Well, that's it. I think I have one more thing to show you on the slide deck, that basically is the extent of what I had to share. If we can, you know, field any questions there might be. But I wanted to say about, as it relates to where we've promoted and where people are seeing us, we've been on a number of national publications. We've been in Black Enterprise. We've been on Forbes as well. We've been in Fox Business, and we've also been on the Roland Martin Show. And we're about to turn the gas on and really put on a real marketing campaign so that you'll start to see Dream Exchange all over the place, because we want the community to know who we are, what we're up to, and why it's important. And so I'm really grateful again for this opportunity to share this information with you guys. And we invite you, that those of you who are interested in learning more, because we are in the final rounds of our capital raise, there is an opportunity for those who might be interested to learn about that. And we invite you to reach out to our team. We'd be glad to interact with you and share with you some more details about what that looks like. And again, most of all, we want you all standing with us, because what you're doing is phenomenal. To what Dwayne said earlier, you know, a lot of people talk about it. A lot of people can point out what's wrong and what needs to change. And they always say, well, they oughta. I just wonder who they is.
Right.
So I'm glad that you guys are actually doing it. And, you know, we want to connect with you guys further and let's move this thing forward. and really make a difference that I think, we won't be here 100 years from now, but I think our descendants will look back on this and say, this made the difference. This is where things change for our community economically.
I love it. Thank you so very, very much. This was wonderful. This was educational, very, very informative. Jeff, stop sharing your screen so we can become bigger. And I
Okay.
want to get into this a little bit and talk about the different opportunities. First, I want to say thank you again for coming to the 10K Project and blessing us with this information and the opportunity to be involved, to get involved, right? And there are a lot of ways we can do that. It's actually, I'm excited about this because there are so many ways for this community to get involved, right? Typically we have these conversations and it's, think about investing or buy the product. This is way bigger than that, right? This goes way deeper than that. And so I just want to make sure that the people in the cheap seats heard, right, all of what I just heard. Yeah. And so not only is there a potential investment opportunity, and we have been putting the link in the chat. If you click on that link, it's a way for you to put your contact information there. It allows you to check and see if you're interested in investing, joining the network, and then you'll get some information about what that means, right? So there's an opportunity to invest. I will tell you in advance, because I feel obligated to tell the community, currently the round is only open to accredited investors, right? And so to be an accredited investor, you have to have made $200,000 over the last 2 years. If you're married, 300, or have a net worth of $1 million that does not include your primary residence. If you need more information about accreditation, please go to the sec.gov website. The other way you can be accredited is if you have some of the financial series licenses. Those allow you to be accredited as well. There are some rules that I believe the SEC needs to change so that the community can be able to have access in a different way. That's a fight we're going to fight another day, but that's a fight that has to be fought. And because many people have money, many people in this community are smart and intelligent and can understand finance and do way better than some people who may have that $1 million net worth, right? And so to be locked out of having opportunity is something that the SEC needs to reconsider. I'll step down off my soapbox there with that.
Sorry, we up there on there with you. So we're gonna work on that. That is a project we can work on together.
Yes, absolutely. But for now, it's open to accredited investors. The other way you can get involved, right, is if you are a founder, if you have a business. I think about the businesses we've highlighted here at 10K. I think we're at like 146 over the last 3.5 years. Wow. Those founders can be a part, right? Can you imagine them being listed, right, on the venture exchange, and then maybe, on the Dream Exchange, and we have the opportunity to buy shares from them, right? Yes. I mean, just think about what that can mean for them from a capital building standpoint. So you better cool believe I'm either set up another meeting with the Dream Exchange and those 140 plus founders, yes. Or I'm gonna shoot them all an email with some information about the Dream Exchange. That's gonna happen, right? Because there's an opportunity there.
Yes.
For all of you who are sitting, you still got that business plan sitting in the top of the nightstand drawer. Time to take it out and do something with it, right? Because the world is changing. We are here experiencing change, right? You're hearing about the change that is happening, and there is a place for you here, right? But you got to do something to get the place, right? We ain't knocking on the door. We ain't gonna go in a nightstand and take it out and work on it for you. You got to do that part. But there's a place here for you. I hope you hear me. The other way that we can get involved here is we now will have a place where we can come and do business, right? We talked about 298 trillion shares being traded on the stock exchange today, right? A fraction of that, we will be doing that here at Dream Exchange.
Yeah.
We'll be doing that.
Yeah.
That's the way you can get involved.
2.98. So it's like 3 trillion shares.
2.98. Wow. Wow.
3 trillion shares, $37 trillion.
$1 trillion. Huh.
Trillion dollars.
Unbelievable. Other way we can get involved is we get to tell the world about this.
Yes.
Right? We get to be the voice box. We get to be the billboard. We get to be at the water cooler tomorrow. For those of you still going to the office, talk about this thing, right? Talk about this. There's so many ways that we can make a difference here.
Yeah.
In working together with the Dream Exchange.
Yes.
That's why we're here tonight. That's
Yes.
why you all showed up to the call to action to come here, is so that you could be a part of this journey alongside the Dream Exchange team, the dream team at the Dream Exchange, right?
Right.
That is why we are here. I heard so many things that were amazing. First of all, thank you for the education, because we are an education platform first and foremost, right? Helping us understand how the system works, right? Because when you know how the system works, then you know how to work within the system.
Right.
And that is not a privilege we have always had. And so now to understand how it all works allows us to think through and to become more savvy. With that said, I see some questions here, and I'm going to get to asking some of them. If your questions are in the chat and not the Q&A, go ahead and move them over for me. I don't want to miss any of them, but y'all know how that chat be scrolling too fast and I can't keep up with it. So,
Right.
I wanted to add something to what you said, Tawana. You know, I don't know if you know who Ryan Wilson is. He started an organization, a private business club for Black folk called the Gathering Spot.
I know the gathering spot. I did not know his name.
And he's gained quite a bit of notoriety. They have locations, a couple of point about those people who have those business owners and those founders that have been on your platform and have met with your group. We need still. Am I chopping up?
You're back. You're back.
Good.
Okay. We need scalable Black-owned businesses for this reason. When our kids are graduating from these institutions, they're very limited in where they can go to get an opportunity where they can bring their entire selves. We need Black-owned companies that value us so that we can hire our own folk that are graduating school and coming out of these institutions with these degrees and be able to apply them to our businesses that we can grow and scale. So it cannot be understated the importance of what we're doing and the excitement of this venture stock exchange. It's going to be a game changer. It's going to be a game changer. The researcher behind it, Yanis Flores, he says this, that this venture stock exchange has the potential to grow as big as, if not bigger, than the national market system.
All seven
seven
exchanges combined.
Exactly. So it's huge.
Wow.
Creating capital. Yeah, it is amazing. We try not to get ahead of ourselves or get too excited.
Right. It's hard not to get too excited.
But it is phenomenal. It is really phenomenal.
Wow. Let's get to some of these questions. Anonymous says, are you following some of the principles of Tulsa, Oklahoma?
Well, ironically, one of my best friends, John Rogers, Ariel Capital, his great-grandfather, C.F. Stratford, owned the hotel, the big hotel that was destroyed in that massacre. And if I understand the question, I'm not sure exactly where it's going, but what I would say is that if we all engage in this together, or if there are enough of us that engage, I mean, we have the benefit of technology, of resources that are global. If it's just us by ourselves, we're vulnerable. Okay. Now there'll come a point, because money is green and there are going to be a lot of people making money outside of this community, that will provide a certain amount of air cover for a while. But our objective is to make sure that we are recognized as broadly as possible by as many of the people in the community as possible for what the potential is and what it can be if we all play nice in the sandbox together. You know, our objective, I'll just tell you this, most of my time will be spent working with legacy organizations to help them leverage the resources that will be made available to us and to our companies in order to make sure that they can provide more entrepreneurial opportunities for the organizations themselves and their members. Because for so long, what my experience has been that our legacy organizations are living hand to mouth. They're surviving, not thriving. And to the extent that they are not thriving, then their members are having a harder time to thrive. So I think we have to put those relationships together as soon as we can, as powerfully as fully as we can, because it is through that connection that we minimize the possibility of anybody just coming and taking our stuff. I hope that answers the question.
I believe it answered something else too. So I like that. I like that. Jesse says, this is huge. Is Maxine Waters the point person on the House side to push the legislation?
Jeffrey, shall I do that?
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely, she is. In fact, we met with Maxine Waters' staff in 2018 when the bill passed both houses of Congress. Maxine and her staff were the co-authors. They worked with Joe for months to actually form the legislation. There was a bill that had been languishing in Congress for months because people weren't that crazy about the guy who presented it. But we took that legislation, Joe, Yanni, our research people, and Maxine Waters and her staff got that piece of legislation. What was once, I think, about an 8 or 9 page piece of legislation became what is it now? Well, I think it may have been 2 pages or something. Anyway, it's now 11, 13, whatever it is. But we wrote the legislation with her staff. So she's very aware of it. And as of about 3 months ago, when we met with her, I met with her personally with Joe and all her staff people. She gave us a resounding attaboy and told us to make clear to the new chairman of financial services that this was something that she wanted to see happen. So we're actually in pretty good shape. It never hurts to have people who feel that they have a vested interest call their congressperson or their United States senator to say, look, are you aware of this? We want you to support it. We also, though, frankly, are walking a fine line because the people in Congress who have lost their minds are people, and Lord, this is going down a thing. I got to be more circumspect. There are certain people who would probably not be as supportive of the legislation if they understood what the potential impact in certain communities might be.
Right.
So we have to be mindful of that. That is another reason that we've kind of kept this stuff below the radar, because we want to make sure that we can keep the support that we have, because this is good for everybody. This is not just good for our community. This is good for small and mid-cap businesses across the board. And that's why everybody has been, well, the people have supported vociferously have supported it, because they know that this is not something the government can do. The government can't fix this.
This is great.
This is a private sector solution.
Yeah,
That's right.
this will make the economy thrive in a way that we've never seen before, right? So let's just be clear, right?
Yeah.
We are excited that this is a minority-owned company, right? I could do the holy dance right now. It's excited, right? I'm excited that the target is going to be a good portion of Black and brown businesses who need the help. But the truth of the matter is, this is a national solution, right? And when we create national solutions, we still win, right?
That's correct.
And so that's still a win. And this is
absolutely correct.
As has always been the case. As has always been the case. This will create jobs in every sector. And when people are thriving and have the right jobs, crime goes down, right? We live in a safer environment. So this is good news for all the neighborhoods, right? The ones we
Little
live in, the
spillover
ones
to
we
the
drive through.
previous question, little spillover to that question, because the lowest hanging fruit in the small and mid-cap markets are not companies of color. The lowest hanging fruit for the bigger deals in that space are people that are not ours, or companies that are not ours. We want them to come in, you know, the over-the-counter market. I mean, you got companies that have been desperate for this kind of solution and had been available. We welcome them because that is going to provide us insulation, it's going to provide us capital and the ability to do the kinds of things we really want to do. Well, I shouldn't say that. I have to be careful. The things that we really are interested in doing for the community that would be harder to do if we didn't have the capital.
Yes.
Because what we know, we're going to do some very heavy lifting in order to make sure that we can level the playing field. Because that is our objective, to level that's all we want. We want a level playing field. But in order to do that, we've got to help everybody. We cannot just be that's not a luxury that we have or anything that we would want. We don't want that. We want the country to thrive. We want people to thrive. We just want everybody to have a fair chance at thriving equally.
Right. Absolutely. Bernard says his question is Dream Exchange was supposed to launch in 2021. What happened? He said, then it was said that it was going to open in 2023. So let's talk a little bit about the journey, right? We're talking about in a couple of months, you believe you will be launching. Let's talk about that journey to get here.
Well, the truth is that we made a conscious decision not to take institutional investors early on. We had no idea what the ramifications of that decision would be, especially after we reached certain milestones. We thought that the cavalry was coming and that we'd be able to do it. And this is the thing about subscription agreements, for those of you that are not familiar with them. A subscription agreement is a quasi commitment to provide capital to an investment target. We cannot make people honor the terms of the subscription agreement. And once they sign the agreement, we have no idea how long it's going to take them to fund. And with our community, as we all are very much aware, people have the best intentions, but life gets in the way. We would get big subscriptions, think we were there, we weren't quite there. We've got millions and millions of dollars in subscriptions that have yet to be funded. And it's only because, people are enthusiastic, they're giving, kind of like, think about the layaway, if you're old enough to know what that used to be like. So people have invested to the extent of their ability. And that has really created challenges for us, frankly, so that we have continued to raise money. I mean, Jeff is part of the team that raised money, and it's amazing what they are able to do. It really is. But is that commitment? But we really believe that if we got a bunch of institutional investors, we got, like all the other exchanges, there's never been an exchange to do it this way, ever. But we knew that if those people came in with that money, it'd be the tail wagging the dog. And we are committed to the mission. This is, this isn't some stuff we're saying to get people to invest or make ourselves sound good.
Right.
This is the mission. And to the extent this is the mission, we can't have people doing what people have historically done when people try to do something good in the community and all of a sudden stuff gets detoured and, off this. We weren't trying to do all that. We know that our investors are committed to the mission. They're committed. It just, it just took us longer. Jeff, you want to?
Yeah, we've taken the road less traveled because of Joe's relationships and the fact that he's been the deal flow guy for so many years. He has a couple of friends that are billionaires, and he could have easily taken the money, but he's held to his integrity and literally bent over backwards to raise this capital in a very unique way that gives an unprecedented opportunity to the most unlikely people ever. And I can't say enough about the importance of that, because if we had institutions behind us, again, to do what Dwayne was saying, institutions tend to act institutionally. And so because we are going to be owned by individuals, we have boots on the ground. We have a seat at the table, a seat at the table that we've never had before. And now we're going to create a whole new table that people are asking to be invited to already. That is unprecedented. And so that's why it's taken us this long.
I'm sorry. And part of that, let me just say, part of that legacy that we wanted to build was for the folks that we're going to make rich, who would have never had an opportunity to get on the ground floor of a stock exchange,
right,
at the center of the capital universe. Capitalism, I mean, capitalism is what it is in America because of the stock market and these stock exchanges. So for people to be able to tell their children, grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren that this is where our family's wealth came from.
Yeah.
That, I mean, what else can I say? How many of us get to tell those stories? So we felt that what that does is it embeds us in the hearts and minds of the people we're trying to serve, because they are showing tangible results of having done it. So even though it's been, telling you, it's been hard, I ain't gonna sugarcoat it. It's been challenging because people, we know life gets in the way. We knew that it would be tricky, but we didn't know how tricky it would be. So, people are still investing. Fortunately, as we've gotten closer to our goals, those commitments have been coming in a little differently, and big chunks of money coming in, and it's good. But that has enabled us to really close the gap, make sure we're able to do what we need to do. Because we didn't want to jump out here. We've been talking to the SEC off and on for the last year almost. So this isn't something we just slapped together and sent over there. This has been kind of a back and forth process. The SEC realizes how important this is. They cannot be showing any favoritism toward any of these companies, but they recognize that there is no, and I cannot overstate this, there is no government solution to the problem that exists in the capital markets.
That's
For
right.
all intents and purposes, people have assumed that the IPO is dead and it will not be revived.
Yeah.
And in its current form, it won't be. The thing that's going to bring it back is the venture exchange, which provides a bridge for these companies to bootstrap themselves literally into a position to take advantage of that mid-cap market and rebuild IPOs in a way that nobody else has really wanted to work. Nobody wanted to work that hard, frankly. It's a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of work. But you know what? The rewards are going to be transformational for this country.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. Brandy said, how do we get our companies public and make sure they stay there?
You want to say something, Jeff?
Yeah. So the process for being able to list on that venture stock exchange, we're not wanting to just come up with rules and just do that in a vacuum. We really want to be informed by the community that's going to be impacted the most. So I've been told that part of what we're going to be doing once the legislation passes is we're probably going on a listening tour to meet with organizations that are what we call entrepreneurial support organizations, that we can understand from the entrepreneurial perspective what is viable, what is doable, so that we can create that platform that leads and breeds long-term success. And to that point, the research that part of what Joe has done gives us some template of what we need to do. Joe actually hand gathered the data from thousands of privately held companies. That data is not in any database somewhere that we could access electronically. He had to hand gather this information. So over some years, they've researched to understand what makes one private company be able to grow and scale and another one not. So we have some of that information, and we know what it takes characteristic wise for a company to be able to be successful when we list them. So that's going to be a part of what the process that we'll put in place. So that, because we know that on that venture stock exchange, the first few companies we list are going to have to be home runs, because we have to build confidence in that marketplace that people think, okay, these are real companies with viable businesses that are scalable, that we can actually do well. And so we're going to have to really figure that out and make sure that we've got our ducks in row.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Mhm.
Let me just add a little bit to that. We have really, really spent the time there to study this and to understand that, and I want people to think about it this way. There are millions of businesses in America, millions. There are hundreds of thousands that probably could be eligible for a venture exchange tomorrow. Yet, there are only 6,300 companies on all of the existing exchanges, all 7, 6,300. So in the scheme of things, that's not, that leaves the vast majority of American businesses to their own devices, whether it's venture capital, private equity, banks, whatever you're trying to do to get your money. We believe that in order for us to be effective, not only do we have to build these relationships with legacy organizations, but we are going to the extent of really making sure that we can build a supportive professional environment that will accommodate itself, its fee structures, its approach to practice, whether it's human resources, marketing, legal, accounting, all of those vital services that are needed. We're not just going to come in and scoop up the cream of the crop. Maybe in the beginning we'll do that in order to hit the ground running. But ultimately, our objective is to create the kind of ecosystem and environment in which people are supportive of each other, that help. We don't have to be dog. It doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't have to be that way. We want to create an environment in a virtual community of businesses and resource persons who really believe that we will all be better off if we cooperate and try to help each other. And if only 10% of the people do that, you know what that would mean? That means this country is transformed. Transformed. So we're not interested in just, trying to skim the cream, makes the money and go off and, buy houses and planes. And I don't want any of that. I don't want any of that, to be honest. I like a nice house and I like a nice car and I like a nice vacation. But I don't want no, I don't, look, and God love you, those who want boats and have spent the money, and Lord have mercy, Jesus, some of my best friends, I love being on their boats. But the truth is, in order to really make this thing be what it can be, we're going to have to, unlike any other stock exchange ever, participate in preparing people and supporting them to be successful. So
Yes.
Pulling all of the professional resources they need, creating community, creating markets, all the things that make companies successful. We cooperate because if I help you and you help, what can we do? We make more money in our community than most of the countries in the world. Most of the countries in the world. You gonna tell me we can't knock some home runs here?
Right.
Yes.
Well, there'll be some
Oh,
home
yes, we can.
There will absolutely
yes, we
be
can.
some home runs. There absolutely will be. Larry Mickens is going to be a home run. He's going to be a home run. So Larry Mickens says he's looking for a better understanding of the venture exchange and how it can benefit his company financially as a startup. So Larry is the founder of Over the Top Ladders. He's one of our founders that has pitched to the 10K project. He's raising capital right now on Net Capital. Amazing product. Like he has revolutionized the ladder industry with this ladder, like no joke. He's a perfect candidate to learn more and to one day be able to be part of the venture exchange. And so, Larry's going to be when I connect these 147, we figure out how to bring these 147 to you. Larry will be at that table without a doubt.
we welcome that.
Yeah.
We sincerely welcome that, and tell him he needs to get on. Where does he?
Larry, you're in that Maryland area, aren't you?
If he's in Maryland, who is?
Yeah.
Jamie
he's in Maryland.
Ratkin. Jamie Ratkin is probably someone who's going to be very supportive of this. Maryland's got some good public officials. So we just want to make sure that we get put a call in. Just put a call in. Make sure that people, because they respond. They respond. I worked for a congressman, and when I was in law school, they respond to those messages. And if we start calling and letting them know that we want that legislation passed, that's the only thing standing, because the Dream Exchange is going to happen with or without any legislative changes.
Mhm.
The Venture Exchange does require that we get this Main Street Growth Act passed and signed into law before the end of the year. That is our plan. So if you want to make that call, please feel free to do that. Otherwise, reach out to Jeff and he can tell you exactly what's going to be happening. Because he knows better than I do, to be honest.
Very, very good. So that's how we can help, guys. That's how we can help get it passed.
Yep.
Edward has a question. He says, my question to Dwayne and Jeff is, have you reached out to Bison Ventures? They would sound like a connection, being an HBCU Black business that could help out. He said, plus he's an investor. So Gary Johnson is the CEO of Bison Ventures, doing amazing work educating in the investment space. He is an avid investor himself, and he has built a very nice network also over the last few years. So if you guys don't already know him or not affiliated, I'd be more than happy to make that introduction, because I think
I'm not familiar. Jeff, have you heard about it?
I have not, but I do know that there is an organization, or the HBCUs have begun to network together to create incubators and ecosystems of developing companies that they are supporting to help them grow and scale their operations. So we had made a contact with a particular school. I'm not sure where that is in the process, but we would absolutely welcome the opportunity to make that connection, because we see the HBCU space as a place that we want to build relationships. Part of Dream Exchange is actually connected with the University of Wisconsin, the Lubar School of Business. We have a program there in their graduate program to teach the public capital markets at the graduate level. We would want to be able to export that to HBCUs and put that in HBCU universities across the country.
Yeah.
So again, create the next wave of professionals that can come into this industry and begin to have a presence.
Yeah, I see that being a benefit in a number of ways, because I'm assuming Bison Ventures, the Howard Bison, we want to spread our information and our ability to have academic partners who can help those businesses within their region with the kind of research and resources, whether it's graduates coming out of school. I mean, we really want to be able to build those connections. And that sounds like a great place to start. I mean, I went to Georgetown, so I have a special place. My sister went to Howard. She's a Bison. So Howard has a special place in my heart, and I'm telling you, we could do that. There could be some amazing outcomes from that kind of partnership. I know there could.
Very good. Well, I will definitely make that introduction. There are a few others I'm going to make also, because as we've been talking, I've been thinking of some other people that I know that have networks that are going to love what you're doing. And so there'll be some emails that I'll be sharing and making some introductions. Rain said, hello, Mr. Kyles and Mr. Farrell. So formal, Rain. Thank you for your contributions to our communities. If I understand correctly, is your target market small to mid-cap companies under 50 million? And also, what percentage of the American economic system does that block represent?
Yeah,
Jeff,
so
go ahead.
Yeah, we believe the sweet spot for the companies we're going to help is probably between 20 and 75 million in the amount of money that they want to raise. Earlier, Dwayne was highlighting that we want to create an ecosystem where, regardless of where a company is or a founder is in their development, we want to be able to plug them into support and resources that will help them, if they're not yet ready to be listed, to get ready to be listed.
Right.
Because we've seen that when there is no help to help people who aren't ready to get ready, that just leads to more frustration. So we want to have an ecosystem where, regardless of where a founder or a company is in their development, the strength of the idea will drive how far they go and how fast they go. And so we're going to help everybody. That's what I signed up for. You know, Wall Street has been too much of an exclusive old boys club for too long. And we need to open up access so that everyone can participate, because I believe that there's more than enough abundance that everyone can do well. And so we're going to work to help everybody.
I'll just add that the crowdfunding space has well, I guess a couple of years ago, lifted their upper limit to about $5 million.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
We set our lower limit at that amount. So we will be able to do IPOs for as little as $5 million. That has never happened before. Even in the good old days, when small cap companies were able to get access, you can do a $5 million IPO. At least that's my understanding. So we believe that by providing this kind of a cocoon, if you will, that provides people with the resources to help build their companies, and unlike the current market where you just kind of left to your own devices, and if you're lucky enough to hook up with some people that can help you, you know, you're fortunate and you may be able to do something. We want to create, like I said, a net that will gather as many people as possible who have similar ideals, goals, beliefs about the importance of helping each other. Because we see the vast majority, most of our, something like 70, 80% of our companies are 1-2 person companies.
Right.
So when you talk about a $5 million IPO, if you're making $2 or $3 million, and you could put your hands on $5 million to really take your company to the next level. The beauty of it is, you get the $5 million, you take your company up and you're doing now 10, 15 million, then you may need another 20 million to go. You come back and we do a $20 million IPO, because if you're growing, that's what people want to invest in. They want to invest in your growth. You're doing something right. So we want to create that. And we think that is the vast majority of the marketplace, to be honest. Like I said, there are millions of businesses in America, millions. And to the extent that 6,300 reflect the companies on all 7 existing stock exchanges, there's a lot of room for a lot of people to be helped. And we intend to be the people that go to, or people that really want to be in an environment like the one that 10K has created, where people feel like family. They feel like this is the best thing since sliced bread. You all are really actually trying to help people, really, and give us an opportunity to get the information, just organizing the information, making it available. That is half the battle. Because people don't know if they're left to their own devices, they're bouncing off the wall. I did it for years, trying to help my clients. Somebody tell me something I'm over here. I'm over this meeting because I think sometimes that is very, very difficult to do and to be successful. But if we can pull all this information together so it's accessible to people, the world will change.
I agree
The world will
with that.
change.
Angela has a really good question. She says, once you're online, will we purchase stocks trading on the Dream Exchange through our current brokerage accounts?
I would say that's a yes, wouldn't
Yeah. Our exchange, like all the other exchanges, part of the National Market System regulation is that all exchanges have to be connected to each other. So we will be online with just every other exchange. What will matter is your broker dealers, they determine what exchange they send order flow to based on priorities of what they're trying to accomplish. And, you know, they do business on all the exchanges. So, yeah, you'll be able to connect with us and order flow will come to our exchange. It's impossible. Here's what I've heard Joe describe it as. He says it's a license to print money. And once you turn the machine on, the only way to stop it is to turn it off.
Right.
So
There's never been a stock exchange to go out of business or to go bankrupt ever in 234 years of had stock exchanges. What happens is that someone will come along and buy them up and buy their medallion, which is the thing that authorizes them to do business. They are licensed to print money. How much money depends on, you know, the size of the deals you're doing, all of those things matter, and the volume. But we're convinced that, you know, people may be concerned about us cannibalizing the existing market. I'm very convinced that we're going to build, particularly with the venture exchange, we're going to build this economy in a way that it's going to thrive in a way it never has before, because nobody's paid attention to these small entrepreneurs and given them the support that they needed to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that these people are not intelligent. It's not that they don't work as hard. None of that. Right. It is not, and everybody says, well, it's access to capital. Yes, that is
that's
really
part
a big part of it. But it's also,
that's not all of it.
Then it's the deployment of that capital.
Absolutely.
And having people that can help you make good decisions and having professional support around you and being willing to spend the money on that. But you can't spend the money if you don't have it. So, you know, it's kind of chicken egg, but, you know, it's not enough just to have access to capital. We are firm believers, and you have to make educated choices. And so we are all about the education, making sure that we can build a supportive environment and community of people who are willing to share information and help each other.
Yeah,
that's what makes people
glad you said that. It's a 1-2 punch. It is a combo without a doubt. Angela wants to know, where can we read the legislation that we're seeking to get passed?
You can go on uscongress.gov, I believe is the website, and look up Main Street Growth Act. Main Street Growth Act. I don't know if our admin support can maybe put the link in the chat.
Will do.
So Tawana, I have to apologize because I'm about 35 minutes late.
I saw your note. So Jeff's gotta go. Dwayne, can you stay for a few minutes?
I can stay.
Jeff, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeff.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Thanks, man.
All
Safe
right.
travels.
Thank you.
Yeah, Talisha will drop the link to the main. Talisha, if you can drop the link to the Main Street Growth Act, that would be great. All right.
I've already dropped it in there.
Perfect. Thank you, Sunshine. Tammy's saying this is so exciting. Daphne has a question. Daphne, I saw your hand up, but I'm hoping your question is here. She said, we can actually, so I think she's getting clarification. And she's got a couple of questions in here. So let me go from the beginning and read all of hers here, because I'm sure they're. All right, so Daphne's looking for some clarification. She wants to make sure she understands this. She says, unfortunately, I haven't even made my first sale besides myself. However, is there anything? I think she's asking if there's anything that non-accredited people can do to help solidify the Dream Exchange. So that's the first question. Okay. You want to speak to that?
Yes. I don't know if I said this before, but most of my time will be spent with our foundation, because the Dream Exchange will only be as successful as the number of people we're able to help. And most of our people need help understanding the most basic elements of finance, economics, business. You know, it's not all the same. It's, you know, it's a lot. It's a lot. So to the extent, you know, what I know from all the work that I've done all of the years is there are a lot of really good programs available. You know, Ariel Academy in Chicago celebrated its 27th year this year. My son went there for kindergarten, and in kindergarten, he was coming home talking about producers and consumers. I studied economics as a freshman in college, and that is the first time that I really thought about the world in that way. He was in kindergarten. So imagine the head start that our kids could have if they were learning in kindergarten about how the economy works and how money works. There's a school called It Takes a Village where in Chicago where they had third graders who were communicating with an African, I forget which country in Africa, but some young people in an African village where they were trying to raise money to build a well. Third graders, okay, who are talking to people a world away. They had a bake sale with their parents to raise money to send. Just imagine if our kids were raised in an environment where they could actually know that these things are possible.
Right.
Okay. So my focus is on trying to become, like I said, the Google of all things finance. We want to gather all this stuff so it's in one accessible place. Google is helpful, but we want to kind of vet some of these things to make sure that if they make it onto our site or within our community, that they have demonstrated commitment and integrity and really that they're going to do the job for an affordable price and all of those kinds of things. That can be done. Technology is amazing when it comes to being able to create that kind of sheltered market environment. So I hope that we will be able to take all the best information out there, put it in a place where people can get a hold of it and use it, and that we will, by creating this community of people and creating this body of knowledge, much like what you've done. I mean, you guys have, I haven't been able to look at it because I haven't sent my membership money in yet, but I want to see this. I, I want to see this this information that you guys are gathering, because that's it. It's having access to the information so that not only can you spend time and go there and look for what you're trying to find, but then you can pick up the phone and call somebody and say, look, do you know so-and-so? Can they help me understand this the way I need to understand it? That's everything. That is everything. So our objective is to spend as much time as we can. And I hope I'm answering the question because I'm going all over it. But as much time as we can creating that kind of environment. I want my legacy to be that we have created connections that have been very difficult to create in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever reason, I ain't get into all the drama. We can do it. I mean, there's a new generation of leadership who I think have a greater appreciation for the need to make that happen. And we got to do it because historically, people are hanging on those little positions for dear life because they wanted to be relevant. They wanted to, they want to have meaning in their lives. And if you don't have any other outlets, what are you going to do?
Right.
We have to make all that not a non-issue by creating so much opportunity for so many people to contribute in so many different ways that, it looks like some other communities,
Mm-hmm.
where opportunity abounds, even in the worst of times.
Yeah, absolutely. Paula, so Paula, yes, he talked a little bit about the being able to connect and partner with some, HBCUs. You want to speak specifically though about any of the Black Greek letter organizations, Dwayne? Is that something that's on your radar to be able to connect?
I'm sorry?
Greek letter organizations.
That's that?
Yeah,
I don't know if I know what that is.
the fraternities and sororities.
Oh, they're Panhellenic. Okay, I got you. Okay. Yes. Oh, absolutely. Now I went to Lake Forest College, so it was kind of animals kind of situation there, and I didn't really pledge. But my dentist used to always try to get me to pledge CLAPA in the graduate chapter. Problem is, I've just always been running around, kind of doing my own thing. So the good thing about that is that I don't have any predisposition that would put anybody above anybody else. So I can really be even-handed. But there's no way we can do this without dealing with sororities and fraternities. There's just no way we can do this because they have more longevity than most of the organizations in our community. And they have the memberships. I've had an idea that I want to help them understand. We let all the historical data that our organizations have collected over these many generations. If that information was put online, or I guess people don't do DVDs and that stuff anymore, but made available,
Mhm.
should you pay a fee? Nobody else has that information. Nobody else is particularly interested in that information, but you got tens of thousands of alumni
Right.
and brothers and sisters and frat brothers and sisters, tens of thousands. And you update it every year. Duh. Like an
Mhm.
opportunity to me, you know? I mean, things like that. But what I recognize is that even with that, if we could come up with a kind of template for how that is done, and maybe we'd have a consultant who would go around the country sitting down with these organizations and helping them to figure out how to make money, how to move from survival to thriving, so that we can do a better service for our members. I don't know that there are any organizations in our communities that wouldn't benefit from that.
Yeah.
You know, but somebody's got to do it. And the beauty of what we're doing and the partnership that I have with Joe is that Joe's going to run that stock exchange, and he's going to run it with the help of all those people you saw in that picture.
Mm-hmm.
The United Nations of the United Nations of stock exchanges, because we got everybody represented. While I can really focus my attention on building this, because building this ecosystem, building these relationships is vital to our success as we define success. So we will absolutely be looking for entrees. I don't think it's going to be hard, to be honest. The reason we haven't put a lot of time and energy because we've been trying to get the doors open and trying to raise money.
Right.
But once this goes public and we're in the Wall Street Journal, people will find us.
Yeah.
Because we ain't trying to hide. We ain't trying to, so they'll find us and we'll have those conversations. But to the extent that your members get excited about this and can help us, it never hurts to have people who can help grease the skids.
Yeah. So Paula, I would say to you, if you've got some affiliation, tell them about the Dream Exchange, right? Start talking about it. For those who are affiliated with churches, go to church this week and talk about the Dream Exchange. Like, tell them what you heard, right? When y'all get up and do the announcements, announce this. Because this is something that can change people's lives to know that this exists. Remember, part of the call to action is to share this, talk about it, be an evangelist about the fact of how this is going to change the trajectory of so many lives. Anonymous has a question. It says, are there any potential startup exchanges that can hinder or prevent the growth of yours if they have the right support with the next administration? So let's talk about that. Are there any other exchanges coming up through the ranks also? You said, you would be number 8. Is there a 9th and a 10th that someone's trying to create?
The only one that we're aware of is the exchange, the Texas exchange they're talking about, so they can kind of get away from all the woke folk. Texas wants to do what Texas does. And well, I shouldn't say that. That's me. But there are certain leaders in Texas who are very determined to provide a haven for people who are not crazy about the idea of diversity, equity, inclusion, or similar, telling the truth about history, a lot of things that people get, upset about. They just announced they have a lot of money, but it takes time to do this. It doesn't take as long as they will get institutional money. So it won't take them as long as it has taken us.
Right.
But we suspect that given that most of those exchanges are focused on the same demographic in terms of their targeted companies, this is not a company, this is not a market that is of interest to them. The Chicago Board of Options Exchange bought the BATS Exchange, Better Alternative Trading Systems, for about $1.5 billion several years ago. Their intention was to try to go after these small and mid-cap companies because everybody knows those companies are being basically starved out of the system. But they found that they couldn't make any money doing it. So when I tell you that, the current market conditions and high frequency trading are not conducive to small and mid-cap companies being successful. Not to mention the fact that they're not trying to, they don't necessarily need a $200 million IPO. So if you only need about $50 million, you just kind of SOL. I mean, where do you go? So I don't think, and most importantly, and this is really important, our companies will not be successful without the kind of support and help that we've talked about tonight. Having organizations like ours to come together to create that pipeline and work on all the elements, because y'all got it. I mean, look, I am not one, you don't know me yet, really, but you will. And what you will know is I'm gonna call them like I see. My wife's like, oh boy, don't, if you don't want to know, don't ask him. If you don't want to know the truth or what at least the truth about it as he sees it, don't ask, because I'm gonna tell you.
That sounds like what happens in my house.
You know what I'm saying? Look, don't ask. Just don't ask. I'm not gonna come volunteer. Don't ask. But the truth is, we are serious about helping these companies to be successful, because we really believe that the more successful companies we have, the more our community thrives, crime goes down, preteen pregnancy goes, all of those bad statistics go down, because people have hope. They have a pathway, to prosperity, which, nothing breaks my heart more than have kids who have mortgaged their futures to get degrees and can't get a good job. Really can't, because nobody's trying to hire them, not because the jobs aren't there, but because nobody wants to hire them, because of what their name is or what they look like, how they went there. Come on now. Time out.
Yeah.
Time out. And we can't keep going asking we cannot expect other people to fix our problem, because they ain't gonna do it. What else do you need to know?
Right.
It's been 400 years.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, what
We're
else?
not gonna wake up and it's gonna be different unless we do something to make it different. Right.
And please hear me when I say, we can't do it by ourselves. Or at least we can't do it as well by ourselves. I'm not saying we couldn't do it by ourselves, but I didn't know nothing about running a stock exchange.
Right.
But for the relationship, and I'm telling you, Joe and I are joined at the hip. Anybody don't like it? Next. Because that's what it is. We're joined at the hip because we have been through the fire together. I know who he is. Can't nobody tell me who Joe is. I know who he is. Okay? And the same I'm sure he would say about me. Our families are close. I mean, this could not have happened without both of us.
Right.
And the team that we have together been able to build. Mostly Joe, actually. I mean, Joe is quite methodical. And he's professorial, so he studies. He loves to share information. He got 6 kids. He's a I call him Big Daddy. He's a sharing, loving person. That's who he is. And for the two of us to be able to come together, both originally from the west side of Chicago, I got a few years on him. But even so, coming out of that experience and understanding, Joe's father worked for the CTA, Chicago Transit Union, for 40 years. He was not born with a silver spoon. He knows what it is to struggle. So when you come from that background and it is ingrained in you that you have an obligation to help people, that's real. That's real for us. So we are determined to help these companies be successful. And that is going to separate us from everybody. So I don't care who comes up. This is really a long answer to that question. I don't care who comes along thinking they're going to just be a stock, have at it.
Right.
But you got to come and be prepared to put in the work that we're going to put in with our fellow organizations to make sure that our people can take advantage of this, or else it's not going to make a whole lot of difference. Now, we'll make a lot of money, but but our success, as we define it, is tied to the number of people that we can help.
Yeah, not just money. I love that. This has been a wonderful night. I want to do 2 things before we close. I want to ask you, other than investments, right? Because that's we know that's a given. what does the Dream Exchange need, right? We've talked about a lot of things here, right? The investment, the help, helping get the word out about legislation being passed, and like what do you guys need to get you to the next level? Let's run those down so that the community can make note of that, right? And so that anybody out there listening, if you hear things that you can help with, right? If you've got that network tie to groups and organizations or what have you, like now I want you to pay attention and listen and see how you can really make an impact here. So what do you guys need?
Thank you for that question. That's an important question. It really is, because this is a heavy lift, but it is less heavy if everybody just does something, tries to do something, whatever they can do, because there's something we can all do. Whether you want to be a business person or not, if you just want a good job, you need to get on board with this. So the first thing I would say is find that link and go find the Dream Again. It's on Spotify, it's on everything. Dream Again is the name of the song. Listen to that song. I want you to listen to it because I want you to be among the first to hear it and to understand that no stock exchange ever has had an anthem, ever. So we don't do anything like we're at Lemos.
Yeah, right.
We are blazing our own path. And I think that song is important because for people who have the least amount of interest in this kind of conversation, I think that song can help us to connect with them and to engage them so that at least they are curious about what these people might be really about. Okay.
I love that. And we'll go ahead when we put the replay, when we email the replay, Talisha, can we add the link to the anthem
Yes.
in our
already got it in
newsletter?
there. Mhm.
Perfect.
Thank you. Oh,
Wonderful.
she's on it. Look at it. Y'all.
Always.
Y'all,
She's always
y'all
on it.
excite me. Y'all excite me. So this is the other thing. And you said it, I mean, if you have a relationship with your church, with your frat or sorority, with your Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, Boule, whatever, we need to build bridges among us to get this information out and to begin to do exactly what you guys are doing. Find ways to get with people. Now, some people are going to be Lone Rangers. They're going to want to invest on their own. They know that, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but that is not most people. Most people are going to fight. Like I listen to those testimonials. People feel much safer, much happier if they're in a part of a community that is pulling in the same direction. Even if you're doing with different investments, if you're pulling in the same direction, interested in the same stuff, talking the same language, I cannot overstate how important creating that community is. So you guys are light years ahead of anybody else trying this that I'm aware of. Okay, so let's find ways to build the kind of relationship that will optimize our ability to to really dissect this problem. This is the thing. I think that the Dream Exchange provides us with an unprecedented opportunity to attack this problem from a level which has simply not been possible. Because we are sitting literally at the table, for real now. Mm-hmm. Capitalism is what it is in America because of the stock market. Do not be confused. It is access to trillions of dollars of patient capital. You cannot grow a business just on bank loans. You can't. Right. Not if you want to really be big. Now, you may be a big fish in a small pond, but it's only so much you're going to do. I don't care how good your bank is. The fact is, your bank's going to be better if you're a publicly held company because they know you have other alternatives for accessing capital. So that makes them, now they're going to be pursuing you for real.
Right.
Not just to get you locked up, but to really try to see if they can get some money in your hand so some operator gets something so they can get on the train. We need people to understand this, and however we can communicate that to people, because I don't think there's one way. I think there are lots of ways, but we need people to help us figure out the most effective and efficient ways to build this community. And a lot of that has to do with getting people who are already active in these organizations and already making a contribution to say, look, you need to be talking to the Dream Exchange. Because I would love for us to collaborate on putting together a brain trust so we can start to figure out how we can make all this really work well and efficiently. Because I'm thinking that y'all gonna have about 50,000 paid members once we get cranking on this thing, because we're gonna be promoting you, you're gonna be promoting us, and people are gonna be aware of what's going on. I'm telling you, it's gonna grow like wildfire. It is, because you're so far ahead of everybody else. I mean, and this is the point of entry. We're not the point of entry. You got to be doing some stuff by the time, because we can't help you. I mean, we will help you in the sense that if we build this virtual and in-person kind of connection with all these organizations, we can help direct you in the right place. I mean, there are lots of government programs and government resources, Department of Treasury and Commerce, that are wonderful for startups, really will help you. But if you don't know where to go look for them, the government is huge,
Right.
you know,
Right.
and you got to then interpret what's on there.
Mhm.
So finding ways to really get some smart people in the room to figure this thing out is really what we need more than anything at this point, because we're gonna get the thing off the ground. We've already laid the groundwork to get in business. At the point that everybody understands what we're doing and understands that they can, that investment clubs and you know, family investment clubs and all the kinds of things that people do to try to understand how to navigate this space. We just have to make it easy for people. We just have to make it easy. And other than that, but that is so important,
So important.
because if people understand that, they know that, then they're going to come invest on the Dream Exchange. And what? Where else are you going to invest? What has the NASDAQ done for you? What has the New York Stock Exchange done for you? Now, some people have made a lot of money, which only goes to show you that there's money to be made in the stock market. But, you know, if you want somebody that's going to really care about making sure that your community does better and that your investment is successful because you're helping to push forward those companies that have the best chance of succeeding, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. Now, we have to do our own due diligence. We have to do all that. But I mean, if the community is behind us and pushing these opportunities to us, these resources to us, and we're sharing in all of this, and everybody's talking, man, we out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's facts. And Angela said, she said, I think 10K Project being the entry point for the Dream Exchange makes sense. Not sure if there's an education component for the businesses that have pitched here. So Angela, what's interesting is one of the things I've been thinking about tonight as we've been talking is that 147 founders that I talked about, right? And obviously I'm thinking about the ones that are further along than others, right? So if you carve out of that 147, let's say there's 40 of them that are ready, right? Like really ready. What do we need to do to help make sure that they have everything they need, right? And then for the ones that are not ready, how do we get them ready? And what part does 10K play in that? So I'm on the same page with you, thinking through where is our place with that? Because the founders, you know, many of them have most of what they need. They just don't have it all. If they had it all, they wouldn't be, you know, out here seeking capital the way they are and trying to seek connections the way they do and all of that. So there's definitely going to be more to come in this area, because my wheels are definitely turning.
Oh yeah, there's an opportunity for collaboration here that is that can help us to create the model and make sure that it is working.
Yeah.
You know, and then get that information out to people. Because I mean, you guys have done a lot of the work, and I'm telling you, you don't know how excited I am. Because I ain't playing. You know, we know we're going to have to do some heavy lifting, but we cannot do this by ourselves. We can't.
Well, you're not by yourself, so you're good. It's all good because you're not by yourself. So we've been putting in the chat all evening the link. When you go to the link, it will ask you, actually, I have it pulled up here. It'll ask you if you're interested in being an investor, or if you want to, if you're a company that wants to list your business, right? Fill out the name, number, phone number, like all of that information. Fill out that information and you'll get more information about those opportunities. But I want to ask more specifically for you to do something as well. Obviously, if you're interested in investing, I want you to do your due diligence and invest, right? If that's what you choose to do. But we need to talk about this, right? This is not one of those pitches you go to bed thinking that was good, and then you wake up tomorrow and go through your normal routine. Like that can't be this, right? This has to be the one, right? If there's only one you talk about and scream from the rooftops, it's got to be this one. Why? And for all of the founders that are watching, like, well, you didn't tell them to scream from the rooftops for me, Tawana. This one helps you, right? This one helps all of the others. And so we've got to talk about this one because it helps all of the others. And so please share. You know, you'll get the when we send out the replay, you will get the campaign link. You'll get that, the link, but you'll also get the Anthem link, right? Tell people about this so that they can learn about Dream Exchange. For those of you who are new here at the 10K Project, this is your first time calling or coming to visit us, please feel free to join our newsletter also. So you'll then get the information about all of the founders that have pitched here, including Dream Exchange. So go to the10kproject.com. As soon as you get to the website, a pop-up box will come in for you to join our newsletter, where you'll see all of the active campaigns that we have. So every founder that's pitched that still is raising capital is in that newsletter. We keep them there as a reminder to our community that there are founders that are still seeking funding. And then Dream Exchange will be part of that. They'll be at the top of that list because we always lead with the most recent. And thank you to anyone who is here for the first time. We really, really appreciate you for joining us and hanging out with us tonight. To my riders, y'all know how I feel about y'all, right? Y'all know I love each and every one of you for coming and every week showing up and showing out and talking about 10K and sharing the work that we're doing with founders. So thank you guys very much. And you continue to do exactly what you've been doing. The call to actions are really clear here, in my opinion. Consider investing if you are an accredited investor. Share everything you've learned tonight about Dream Exchange and all of the amazing plans they have in store. Once they launch, let's support, right? Let's start trading. Let's start buying some shares. Let's make this the place we come to, right? To shop, right? We had a gentleman, JR came last night and talked with JR. Was his last name was Fenwick, wasn't it, Talisha?
Yes.
Yes, JR Fenwick came and talked to us. Flip That Stock is his company, and he educated us last night on this. So he was a nice prelude to you coming. So he did some great education on the stock market. He talked to us about the importance and how in our community, we are not building wealth through the stock exchange like we should. And so now we have the education we need and the place that we can come to be better at that. And so, be mindful of that. We invited JR on Monday in advance of this session on purpose. That was not a mistake. That was by design because we really wanted the community to get the full picture. But share it. If you are a business, being listed on this exchange is going to be used for you. So start getting your ducks in order, right? If you know you need to refine some things and sharpen some things, now is the time, right? Because this is where excellence matters for real, right? This is where excellence matters. This is you got to come correct with this, guys. Like, let's just be clear. You got to come correct. And I know I won't be sending you over to Dwayne and Joe unless you correct. So you got to come correct. But there's a lot for us to do. There's a lot for us to be excited about with tonight's presentation. I'm super excited. I'm sure I'll be thinking about things all night long. I won't be able to go to sleep tonight because my brain will just be moving. But if you also have any connections that we talked about, churches, affiliations, please share that information because they're going to need an army around them, right? they're going to need the support of an army. And this community is exactly that. When we come together, can't nobody touch us. We know that. I don't know why we don't come together more, because we know that. But when we come together, can't nobody touch us. Nobody. And this is what they need. They need to be untouchable with us surrounding them and lifting them up, because this is truly going to change the game. So, thank you guys for coming out. Dwayne, thank you so much. Please let Joe know we're praying for him to get better. We missed him tonight, but you held it down for him. He'll be proud of you.
I really am eager for you guys to meet him because he's fun. He's fun.
Yeah,
and he's smart. He's really, really smart.
We're in this together now, so this won't be the last time. This won't be the last time. I will be sending you some introductions, right? Because I've got some that I know I want to get out, and then we need to talk about how do we engage the founders that have come through 10K already. How do we introduce them personally to you? Some of them are on tonight. Some of them will watch the replay, but there are many that I'm sure may not, and so we want to make sure they know about this and understand that there's a place for them here.
There absolutely is. There absolutely is. I'm excited. I mean, I cannot again commend you guys enough on the work that you've done, the way, this very intelligent way that you've put this together, the very sensitive and insightful way that you have built this community. Because I mean, those testimonies, I think we're gonna steal the testimonials, because those are, I mean, they say so much about who you are and what you're doing. And nobody tells it better than the people themselves. Nobody can tell that story better than they can. So I think that the work that you guys are doing is amazing. And I think this kind of partnership can demonstrate to a lot of people who are skeptical about our ability to do big things together, that doesn't have to be the case. It really doesn't. There are ways for everybody to thrive together, because that's the only way out. If we can't all thrive together, if you want to do funny stuff, then you do you, boo. You can go over here, but you ain't being part of this, because we are trying to police these relationships and the work that we're doing together in such a way that we can all benefit and all tell our kids and bring our kids up. I mean, you create that environment. We can do that proactively, but you have to be intentional. You have to be smart about it, and everybody's got to be kind of on the same page, at least to the extent that they're not going to be, doing no funny stuff. So I look forward. I really, really am excited about the opportunity to work with you guys and to kind of eat this elephant one piece at a time together.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much for your time tonight, and congratulations in advance. This is absolutely beautiful. It really is. It really is. I am so proud of what you and your team are building. And I am excited when that launches and we get the notification that it's live. I'm gonna be doing a happy dance around this house. I mean,
Right. You won't be by yourself.
Going to be the beginning of change. And so, just congratulations. I'm just warm and fuzzy inside knowing how this is going to change the lives of so many people across the world, not just in this community, but truly across the world. So, really excited about this. So congratulations again to everyone else. Again, thank you guys for showing up. Thank you so much for supporting the 10K Project. We appreciate you. Again, the website is the10kproject.com. If you are not already a member, consider joining. At the very least, get on the newsletter, because we do give you the deal flow information without being a member, right? That's how important this mission is to us. We don't require you to be a member to get access to the deal. The deal flow is what we just give you because we know you need it and the founders that we support need it. So very least, get on the newsletter, okay? All right, guys, have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Thank you again. Peace and blessings. Good night.
Thank you.